For this next week, we are going to be going through 1040s for 5 different scenarios. This first one is a single person. We're doing William R. Smith. They are single. And so we'll first in that filing status, you'll click on single, which is in that, well, for y'all, it's just a dark and gray spot. Then the first name and middle initial is William R. Last name is Smith. His social security number is 123456789. His home address is 134 West Main Street. His city is Anytown, Texas 76333. And we didn't fill in the joint return spouse's information because he's single. He doesn't have a joint return. We're not filling in the foreign information because he doesn't live in a foreign country. Did you at any time in 2020? Excuse me, let me read this question correctly. In 2020, did you receive and send, sell, exchange, otherwise acquire financial interest into any virtual currency? What's that currency it's talking about? What's an example of those?
Stocks.
What?
Stocks.
No. Bitcoins.
Oh, gee.
That's a new question that's come out since 2018 when I last did those with students. So, because of that, that's something that they have to track as well. The presidential election campaign, I keep meaning to look into that and find out more details about where that money goes, or if you actually get to, if it goes to the current sitting president or where that money goes. I've never done it myself. So now let's go on to the next bit. Standard deduction. Can someone claim you as a dependent? No. You are independent from your parents at this point, and you do not have a spouse, so you don't have to worry about the next 2 questions. So there's no checks on that row. Now let's go to age and blindness. We were not born before January 2nd, 1956, and are not blind. For William, he does not have any kids. I will let you know when you have kids, and I'll give you their information. So now let's go on. We're done with the dependent section. We're going to go on to the first question. So 1, wages, salaries, tips, and etc. And it wants us to attach our W-2. That's that form that has says your employer's name, and it says Financial Math, Cristobal High School. That's your employer's information. So on that form, can anybody find the wages, tips, and other compensation? How much do they make?
Oh, gee. 24266.
$24,266. Now, again, for our purposes, I will let you know this other bit is going to come from 1099s. But for our purposes, I will inform you if there is tax-exempt interest or taxable interest or qualified dividends. And so all this information is going to come in the form of a 1099. The tax-exempt interest would be things that you are not taxed upon. So like the municipal bonds is a good example of those. Dividends are things that come off of stocks. IRA distributions. Remember we talked about if you have a Roth IRA, when you pull money out, it comes out tax-free. So all the A section is all your tax-free income that's coming in. All the B section is all your taxable benefits that are coming in. So some of your money will come in tax-free and some will come in taxed. And that's the difference between those 2 columns. Capital gains. is another thing that comes from stocks. And it is either a gain or a loss. So like if you sell stocks at a loss, you can have capital losses, which can affect your taxes. And capital gains is when you sell it at a profit. Depending on how long you hold it, it depends on how it affects your taxes. And other things that can go into that are like if you sell real estate. Now, if it's your home that you've lived in, it's exempt if you sell it after you've lived there for a long enough period. So that gets us through 7. Line 8, there are 4 schedules. I think it's 4, 3 or 4 schedules. No, 3 schedules that come into play as we're doing our taxes for basic usage. Back in, I want to say 2017, I should look up the number before class, but Trump decided to simplify the way our taxes look, and so they redesigned the 1040 form to where the basic 1040 form is anybody that's going to be just very simplistic, it is your most basic form, and you're not going to have everything extra in. And they put these schedules in place to have the more complicated stuff. So basically, he made this 1040 form. He wanted it to be under 1 page, I think was his goal, but we've made it to where it's front and back of 1 page. Compared to it used to be 4 pages. So he has simplified it and made it simpler. So that will come off that Schedule 1. We will look at the Schedule 1 in a couple of days. For right now, we don't have anything that hits that. So all of these that have been so far have been zeros. We're going to add lines 1 and then all the B's and 7 and 8. And that gives us our answer for our total income in line 9. And so that's $24,266. And then, so if we look at our schedules, and I thought I had it here to where I could show it to y'all. Okay. Schedule 1, and I'll get you this paper before you leave class today, is for any additional income and any deductions to claim. And so the first part was asking us if we had any more to add in from it. Now we're looking to see any adjustments to income that come from that schedule. And we do not have any, so it's a 0. 10B is also 0. We did not have any charitable contributions. We're going to take the standard deduction. So this is coming into play as we start itemizing here. Add lines 10A and B, 0. Subtract line 10C from line 9. So 24,266. If we are single, what are we going to put in line 12? Not 0.
12,400.
This is our standard deduction line. This is that number that we've been using on our charts. Is that 12,400? And then I didn't really go over head of household, but that's a separate number. If you look over on the side, you see that little bubble that comes off of 12. It tells you the 3 numbers that you can actually put there, unless you are not doing the standard deduction. Now, next thing is you can do is your qualified business income deductions. That's going to require extra forms. And as you start getting into these extra forms, the more forms you're starting to get involved with, the more likely you're probably going to need an accountant to help you with these. Add lines 12 and 13. So 12,400. Subtract line 14 from line 11. So who wants to subtract those two numbers for me? Get your calculator out. $11,866.
Yes.
Nope.
What? How?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was thinking there was another number. Sorry. I had written it down backwards.
No way.
For some reason I thought it was 688. And then I looked up. So now this is our taxable income. The next thing we're going to do is take our taxable income. This is how much they're going to tax us on. And instead of having to fill out those charts, how they did the income tax brackets, IRS is kind to us because they know everybody messed that up. And they provide us a chart. So they break it up into sections of thousands of dollars you make. And then you have it broken into rows. But if you look here, we're at 11,000, which is all the way down here if you can follow my cursor. But this first column says that your income needs to be between the first column and second column. The third column is your single column. The fourth column is your married filing jointly taxes. Then your married filing separately. Then your head of household. So your taxes are different based upon what your first check was. So for us, and I'm going to zoom this in to where y'all can actually see these numbers, hopefully. We had 11,866, correct? So that's between the 11,850 and 11,900. If you look at my form, I've actually kind of circled it or highlighted it on the computer. And this next number, that $1,228, is your tax that you're going to run into on line 16. Sometimes you'll need to involve extra forms. The full instructions to how you do these, and so if you're running into what is that form, it's in this entire document here, which is how to fill out your 1040. And it takes you line by line of how you do it. So at line 1, this is what you do. And you keep going forward. So now, Schedule 2. Remember I told you that there are some of those schedules? We're going to go into more. Schedule 2 is any AMT you need to make excess payments, principal, credit, and premium tax credit repayment. Other taxes you may owe, self-employment taxes, household employment taxes, additional taxes on IRAs and other qualified retirement plans, and tax-favored accounts. So if you take a distribution from your IRA before you're supposed to, it has extra penalties. This is where it would show up. So we do not have anything on those. Add those two lines, and that goes in line 18. Line 19 is child tax credit. Does this person have any kids? He has 0 dependents, so 0 kids that we need to worry about. Schedule 3 is your non-refundable credits other than child tax credit. So other credits you might have are going to fall into educational credit, general business credits, and we'll look more detailed at Schedule 3 next week. Your earned income credit, American Opportunity Credit, and other child tax credits that you may run into. And so amount from Schedule 3 is 0. Add lines 19 and 20. 0. Subtract line 21 from line 18. So what is that when we subtract those two? So credits and deductions are two big words with your taxes. Credits offset how much tax you owe. Deductions lower your taxable income. Which one impacts you greater? Credits or deductions? Credits take, okay, you have the total amount of taxes you owe. Credits cut that bill. Deductions say, here's your income. I'm going to cut that, and then we're going to look at your taxes. So the one that typically helps you the most and you're going to see the biggest impact from is your credit. Deductions also do because they're lowering your taxable income. So there's arguments there, but for the most part, people think about the credits as the most impact. And credits are how people get refunds of more than what they paid. Some are refundable, and that means you can get more than you actually paid into taxes. Other taxes include self-employment tax, 0. Add lines 22 and 23, so 1,228. Now we're going to look at our W-2 again and see on your W-2 how much it was withheld in taxes. Can you read that number? It should be $698 and 62 cents. So that's how much they took out of your paycheck. Now we have the form 1099s. And so when you have a 1099 generated, sometimes as you've gone throughout the year, your brokerage company or your bank may have withheld some money from your distributions that have gone to you. They may have held some money back to go to the government. And this is where you'd report that. And then other forms of income, tax being withheld, whether you've sent money into the government, other things like that will come into play on these next two. So these are both 0 for us. I'm not going to go through all the details of what each of these are every single time. I just wanted to do it today so you know what each of these lines are referring to. Add lines 25A through C. So this is how much you've sent the government. At 2020 estimated tax payments and amount applied from the 2019 return. Excuse me, this is where your money that you've sent the government throughout the year, that if you haven't done it through your employer, let's say you're self-employed, this is where it was recorded. And we did not do that. For the purposes of this course, I am not going to go into earned income credits. This is something that as you have kids and you have lower income comes into play. We're not going to worry about that this year. And additional child tax credits, there are some other credits you can take advantage of for child taxes, and that would be done through the Schedule 888-12. Some things that show up on there is adoption tax credit. You can offset the cost of what you pay your lawyers based upon your income. For your adoption, they'll pay for a portion of it through child tax credits. The American Opportunity Credit is going to be from Form 8863. Recovery Rebate Credit, this is something that's different for this year because of the fact they've done those stimulus package. This is where it's coming into play. Amount from Schedule 3. And all of those so far have been 0 for our person. Add lines 27 through 31, 0. And so all of those credits are considered money going towards the government for your taxes. We're going to add those two numbers together, and that's how much the government sees that you have sent them. So even though those credits are not money you actually sent the government sees it as a credit for you. So you owe the government $1,228. You have sent the government $698.62. Do you think you're getting a refund, or do you need to send them more money?
More money.
You need to send them more money. So we're going to skip the refund section. And another way to look at this, it tells you straight on it. Is line 33 more than line 24? And for us, it was no. He goes, and it says this is the amount you overpaid. And if not, you're going down to 37. Line 33. Subtract line 33 from line 24. So we're going to subtract those two. And how much money do we need to send the government? 1228 minus 698.62.
$529.38.
So we need to send them that money. You can look at your estimated tax penalty, but normally if you have done your taxes like you thought you should throughout the year, you just didn't send them enough. As long as you pay it on time before the 15th of April, you don't have any penalties. This year it's a little bit different. They did extend it all the way to May 15th. And so there's not usually any tax penalties there. And so all you have to do is send them $529.38. Now, if you don't want to send them money at the end of each year for the previous year, what you could do is go and talk to your employer and get a new W-4 to adjust your withholding amount and increase how much is being withheld from your paycheck each month. So that you do not run into the same situation the next year. Third-party designee. This is something that if you want someone to be able to talk to the IRS about your return. So, to me, the times I can see this being important to do, we need to click no because we're not going to have somebody, is, let's say, possibly even on your first time you file taxes, if you want to have your parents to where the IRS can talk to them. So, like, if your dad always does the taxes for the family and you want him to be the one that is able to talk to the IRS, you can put his information down. Or let's say it's in the opposite situation. Your parents, you're now taking care of your mom or your dad. They are not in the right mental state to be able to deal with the IRS. You might go on their return as a person to talk to. It could also be lawyers through estates and things like that. So we are going to sign, and your name is not your name. It is William R. Smith, and your occupation is you are a teacher. You don't have to do a PIN, but that's a PIN protected. If you want to have that, you can put it in there. Your phone number is whatever phone number you want it to be. Your email address is william.smith@gmail.com. And then the paid preparer use only. So like, let's say you went to H&R Block and had someone prepare your taxes for you. They would fill in their information there. That's also someone else that is going to be called in if something gets questioned on your taxes.